Karen sued me for blocking a ranch trail, then learned I'm the one who funds that trail system. The courtroom buzzed with whispers as Karen Whitmore strode in, her heels clicking like a metronome of entitlement. Draped in a tailored fur coat and dripping with diamonds, she shot me a look that could curdle milk. I sat quietly, a rancher in worn boots, accused of blocking her access to a trail she claimed was her right. She'd sued me for $50,000, alleging I'd ruined her weekend getaways by fencing off part of my land. The truth? That trail she loved so much existed because of me, and she was about to learn that the hard way. Karen had moved to our small Montana town 2 years ago, buying up a sprawling estate she barely visited. The trail system weaving through the hills was a local treasure, used by hikers, bikers, and horse riders. I've been funding its upkeep for a decade, pouring my own money into signs, maintenance, and erosion control. My family's ranch bordered the trail, and I'd always kept a small section open for public use until Karen started treating it like her personal playground. She'd ride her loud ATV, tear up the paths, and leave gates open, letting my cattle wander. When I put up a fence to protect my herd, she didn't ask questions. She called her lawyer. Her accusations were relentless. In court, she painted me as a greedy, spiteful rancher who'd stolen public land to spite her. "This man," she said, pointing at me, "thinks he owns the whole mountain." Her lawyer flashed photos of my fence, spinning a tale of a community robbed of its trails. The judge, a no-nonsense woman with a sharp eye, listened intently. I stayed calm, my hands folded, knowing the truth was my ally. But Karen's confidence was unshakable. She smirked as her lawyer rested their case, certain she'd won. Then it was my turn. My lawyer, a quiet man named Tom who'd grown up on a ranch himself, stood and called our first witness, Ellie, a park ranger who'd worked the trails for years. Ellie wasn't in my plan. She was a last-minute addition, someone I hadn't even considered until Tom suggested her. Her testimony changed everything. With a steady voice, she described how I'd donated thousands annually to keep the trails open. She pulled out receipts, emails, and even a handwritten thank you note from the county. Without his funding, Ellie said, these trails wouldn't exist. The courtroom went silent. Karen's smirk faltered. Ellie didn't stop there. She described Karen's behavior, how she'd been caught multiple times ignoring signs, littering, and once spray painting her initials on a trail marker. She acted like the rules didn't apply to her, Ellie said, her voice tinged with frustration. The judge raised an eyebrow, glancing at Karen, who shifted uncomfortably in her seat. I could feel the tide turning, but the real blow was yet to come. Tom presented our evidence, property records showing my land predated the trail system, meaning I had every right to fence it. Then he dropped the bombshell of video from a trail camera, timestamped just weeks before the lawsuit. It showed Karen, in her signature fur coat, deliberately cutting a wire fence on my property and tossing beer cans into the brush. Gasps rippled through the room. Karen's lawyer objected, but the judge waved him off. "Let's see where this goes," she said, her eyes locked on the screen. The video wasn't just damning, it was humiliating. Karen's face, twisted with disdain, was unmistakable as she kicked over a private property sign and laughed. The courtroom felt electric, the air thick with anticipation. I glanced at Karen. Her cheeks were flushed, her hands gripping her purse like a lifeline. She'd built her case on lies, and now the truth was unraveling her. The confrontation peaked when Tom called me to the stand. I kept it simple, explaining how I'd funded the trails out of love for the community, how I tried talking to Karen before fencing my land, and how she dismissed me as just a farmer. I didn't raise my voice or point fingers. I let the facts speak. But then Karen interrupted, standing up and shouting, "This is outrageous. I'm the victim here." The judge banged her gavel, ordering her to sit. That outburst was her undoing. The room saw her for what she was, entitled, reckless, and utterly unapologetic. Karen's collapse was swift. Her lawyer scrambled, but the evidence was ironclad. The judge didn't just dismiss her case, she ordered Karen to pay for the damages to my fence and the trail markers, totaling $8,000. But the real sting came when the county, prompted by Ellie's testimony, banned Karen from the trail system for a year. Her face crumpled as the ruling sank in. She'd come to court expecting to humiliate me, but instead, she'd expose herself. As she stormed out, her heels echoing in the now quiet room, I felt no joy, just relief that the truth had won. The aftermath spread quickly. Locals rallied around me, some even offering to help repair the trails. Ellie became a quiet hero, her testimony a reminder that small voices can shift big battles. Karen's estate went up for sale a month later. Word was she couldn't stand the town's whispers. The trails are thriving again, with new signs and a community cleanup day planned. I still fund them, not for recognition, but because it's home. This story isn't just about one woman's downfall, it's about what happens when entitlement clashes with truth. Karen thought money and status gave her power, but she learned that respect and accountability matter more. What do you think, who was in the right? Should Karen have been banned from the trails, or was the punishment too harsh? Share your thoughts, and let's talk about what justice really means.